I'm Ava Bedwell.
I'm Ryan.
Okay, and what inspired you to join the military?
Nothing really. I just joined because I got done with high school and didn't have anything else to do. So.
And so then, how old exactly were you when you enlisted?
18.
18. And what branch did you choose?
I was in the Navy.
And what was basic training like for you?
I don't know, a little bit of a culture shock. It was a little different than what I was used to. Wasn't super hard, like people say it was.
And what skills or values did you learn during training that kind of stayed with you?
Waking up early. I still do that all the time. And being motivated to do stuff when I need to do it.
And then what were you stationed, where were you stationed during your service?
So I did boot camp in the Great Lakes, which is up by Chicago. Then from there I went to Groton, Connecticut for a year for schooling to be on the submarine. And then I was in Norfolk, Virginia for 4 years.
And can you describe a typical day of when you were deployed, how that looked?
When we were deployed? Yes. So on a submarine it's different because you're under the water most of the time. So instead of working on a normal 24-hour a day like normal people, we worked on a 18-hour day. So you would do your job for 6 hours, then you have 6 hours of free time, then you have 6 hours of sleep, and then you get up and do it all over again.
And what were some of the challenges you faced while serving?
Boredom. At least on the submarine, boredom was it, and then missing family.
Is there any particular moment or story that kind of stands out to you that you either good or bad?
Going to Italy twice was fun. Enjoyed that. And then we had Good Morning America right on our submarine. So that was kind of unusual. So Robin Roberts was on our submarine for a few days. And then I also had one time where my dad got to ride with me, and that was really fun.
And when you're going to Italy and stuff, do you get time for personal time to go explore or no?
Yeah, while we're in Italy we did. It was the first time I ever had gelato, and it was really amazing. Yeah, we just got to walk around, check out Italy, and eat.
And were there any friendships that really stayed with you after serving?
Yeah, I have a couple guys that will call me. One guy we stay in contact more than others. I went and saw him last spring break and we hung out. And we were supposed to hang out here not too long ago, but he still does it's underwater rescue stuff with submarines, so he does that still. So his schedule's really weird, so it's hard to hang out with him very often.
And with your 6 hour period of actually working, what does that entail? What do you do?
So I was a sonarman. So on the submarine there's no windows. So in order to figure out where you're going, or if there's something out there that you need to move away from, you listen to it instead of actually being able to see. So you navigate with maps or charts, and then also with the sonarman we would sit and we would listen. And so based on the sound we could be able to tell how far away the other ship was, what kind of ship it actually was, and then we would be able to turn away from them and keep a safe distance from everyone.
And then how many people would typically be on a submarine at the same time?
A little less than 150.
They're big.
Yeah. Pretty big.
They're pretty tall too. Did you have any trouble with that? Are they super short or?
Yeah, I'd hit my head quite a bit. But I also had a guy that was 6'7" on my submarine.
Oh,
so yeah, I don't know how he did it. He surely has back problems.
And just kind of like, what does military service mean to you now? Like, is it a really respectful thing for you?
Yes. Yeah. I respect anybody that does it. It's not easy. So.
And what would you like advice would you give to someone considering joining the military?
Make sure it's something that you really, really want to do, not like a spur of the moment kind of decision, kind of like I did. I didn't really know what I was getting into, and I was just like, "Yeah, it sounds fun. Let's go do it." But I think they should think it out and research better. I also didn't research like what job I wanted to do. They kind of just offered me one, and I was like, "Sure, let's do that. That sounds a submarine. Why not?" So yeah, here's my advice.
And is there anything like that you think citizens kind of misunderstand about like veterans and people who are serving?
Mm. When I was younger, it didn't seem like people paid attention to veterans very often, but it does seem like now it's a lot better. Like with Veterans Day, they do special things, and it's a lot better than it was. Yeah, I don't know if there's any misconceptions really.
And like kind of going into like after you served, like how was it transitioning back? Like was it super easy, or is it like what did you start doing after?
No, it wasn't easy. Again, like I was just saying, you probably should research what you want to do before you get into service, because a sonarman on a submarine doesn't really give you very many opportunities afterwards. So yeah, I floated around a lot after I got out. Like I did a lot of weird jobs that I just, in my brain, I was like, sure, anybody that served in the military, somebody is going to want to hire, and that really wasn't the case, because you think that they would be always on time and be reliable, and so I was like, surely somebody will want me, and it wasn't really that case. But also, like when I got back, we went into a recession for a while, so it was a little difficult.
And I don't actually think I asked you this. How many years did you serve?
5.
5, got you. And then like what, like after hopping around and stuff, like what did you end up doing with like jobs and stuff?
Well, I've had a bunch. Yeah, I climbed cell towers for a while, which was really weird. Like I went from one extreme, like going in underwater, to climbing really high. And I was like, this isn't safe, and I don't want to do this. So I stopped that. And then I became an electrician for a while. I really enjoyed that, but then the recession hit, and a bunch of people got laid off. So then I worked for AT&T for a while, and really didn't like that job. So one day I decided I'd go to school, because that was one benefit with the military. They gave me a GI Bill, which gives you money to go to college. So I was like, I should probably not waste that. So I decided to go to college, become a school teacher. I did that for 3 years, and then decided that I didn't like that anymore either. So now I just do construction and flip houses, which I was doing while I was in college anyways.
And then just kind of like family life, like how many kids do you have, wife, everything?
I have 3 kids and a wife.
And what does your wife do?
Well, she's also in the military, so she does finances for the National Guard.
And if like your children one day came to you and was like, I want to be in the military, how would you respond to that? Would you be happy or just kind of indifferent?
I'd probably say don't go into the Navy on a submarine. Now, I don't know. I think I would be supportive, but again, I would really sit them down and try to make sure that they're going to do something they're going to like and will be beneficial in the long run.
And just like the family and personal, like how did your service affect your relationships with your friends and family? Was it just like, you just miss them, or anything else?
Well, I was actually married while I was in the military. I got married to a girl that I knew in high school, and I was married to her for 3 years, and while I was actually on deployment, we got divorced. So,
I did not know that.
yeah, so family life was really hard. You're on a submarine, you're not home very often. I was only home 3 of it. Like I would stand watch. I would be on the submarine one day, and then I'd be gone for, or I'd be gone for 1 day, then I'd be home for 3 days, gone another day, home for 3 days, and that was while I was in port. And then when you're out to sea, it's very little communication.
And was there any like fear or stress when like serving? Like were you ever like scared?
Oh yes. Obviously, the first time we went under, that was scary. Because as a sonarman, you're sitting and you're listening to all the sounds around you, and you can hear the actual hull or the outside of the submarine popping, and yeah. And so that was a little, like the pressure of the ocean pushing on it makes it pop, and yeah, it was a little eerie and a little scary at first. And then when we were actually on deployment, we went into the Persian Gulf, and while we were in the Persian Gulf, we went right through the canal part of it, the narrow part, and we went right underneath the shipping, like a big shipping ship. And yeah, we were so close to it, it was shaking the hull of the submarine, and you could hear the propeller of the ship through the hull.
And so, how like deep down would you guys go then?
Deep. I'm not supposed to tell
you. Okay. And was it like a really supportive type of group thing, or obviously you guys are gonna be joking around? It's a bunch of people stuck in a.
Yeah, it was a bunch of guys stuck in a tube for a long time. So yeah, there was a lot of shenanigans and all sorts of.
Any hazing or anything like that?
Oh yes, there was that. But yeah, they started saying no more to that when I was around. But it used to be really bad. Like they'd tell us stories about hazing and stuff that would happen. But
anything really bad ever happened to you?
No. Not really.
Got pretty lucky with that.
Yeah.
Like what kind of food did you guys have on the submarine? Was it like really bad or?
No, they say submarine food is actually one of the best. Like every Friday we'd have surf and turf, so you'd have like some sort of seafood and steak, and then Saturday nights was always pizza and wings. So it was pretty good for the most part.
And like for entertainment, you guys like play a lot of board games, or I'm guessing TVs don't really work down there?
Some guys would play cards, we'd watch movies. I played a lot of video games.
And so we talked about this a little bit before, but like with staying connected for home, was it like you were writing letters or anything like that, or did phones sometimes have connection?
No phones.
No phones.
We get email every once in a while. But you know, you get emails when we come up to periscope depth. So we'd come up and we'd have antennas that would come up above the water, and then we could transmit emails that way. But even that, every time you come up, you didn't get something. Only when they were allowed to download emails, you could.
And like, were there any lessons in leadership or teamwork that you kind of took away from the shores?
I think I just learned best of how to deal with difficult people. And different kinds of people, because everybody was different and a little weird. That's why I always joke with everybody, you gotta be a little strange to go on a submarine. So everybody's a little different.
And you have any like nicknames? And like I know that's a popular thing. Do you get a nickname?
No. Mostly just called us by our last name.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. And what was the enlistment process for you? Like, I know at my school, a lot of people come to our school and like, hey, and you talk with a certain person until you get enlisted. Was that how it was during your time?
Yeah. So like I said earlier, I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I got out of high school. So when I was your age, you looked in the newspaper for like jobs. Yeah. And I was like, there's a job for a fireman. I was like, that sounds kind of fun. And so I actually called, and it was actually a Navy recruiter. Yeah, and so they came to my house, and one of the guys was a photographer in the Navy, and then the other guy was actually a sonarman on a submarine. So Yeah.
And do you come from a military family, or like were you the first one?
My grandfathers were in the Navy, but I didn't really know them very much. So, yeah, I was the only one.
Um, and like, how is it? How do you stay mentally and like emotionally grounded like while you're at sea? Is that like a hard thing of like kind of might be a bad question?
Yeah. I don't even know how I did it, like looking back on it, because like you don't get to see daylight, you don't get sunlight, like you don't get to go outside. So yeah, I don't know. You just like get in the groove and you just do it. I guess.
No fresh air. That'd be hard.
No fresh air, and it stunk. Yeah.
And when you would go to these other countries and stuff, like, would you ever have to interact with like local people and stuff? And is that kind of hard to do?
Oh yeah, we went to Italy twice, and then we went to Bahrain, and then Jabal Ali, which Jabal Ali is next to Dubai. And yeah, we'd interact with the locals there, but most of them knew military people, like because the military come in there quite a bit, so they knew how to interact with us too. But yeah, like you'd have to get taxis or cabs, and they just told you that the taxi cab drivers are going to try to rip you off. So always like try to talk them down on their prices, and you always had to have a buddy with you or a few when you went out somewhere, just because you never knew what was going to happen.
And obviously now technology is like a lot more advanced now. Is there like, was that hard during then? Like, what was the technology during then? I think I've asked this before.
Technology during then, I had a PlayStation 2, I think, at the time, and a laptop computer that I'd play games on. Cell phones didn't have like the internet on them or anything. It was just, and then you had minutes on your cell phones. So, and then I don't think it was international calling either. So, yeah.
And then like, did you have to be like super trained with weaponry, or were you ever handling weapons, or is it just like?
Yeah. So we'd stand watch on the submarine. So I trained on a 9mm, an M16, and then a Mark 46 and a M60, which are the last two are machine guns. And then they had grenade launchers too, but I don't think I ever got to shoot it. I don't remember shooting it. I think I had training to go do it one day, and they had to take you out in this little boat, and they were like, "Yeah, the seas are too rough, so we're not doing it." So I never got to shoot a grenade launcher. It would have been fun. But we'd load torpedoes and stuff. That was one of my jobs. So we load big torpedoes onto the submarine.
And obviously, I'm kind of going back with the other countries and stuff. Was there a big language gap, or did most of them know English? Did you have to learn a few like simple terms in different languages?
Most of them understood what we were saying.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for the most part.
And like, what was the most surprising thing about I guess there's a lot of places you visited, but like culture shock, was there anything that was like really like, whoa, you guys do this differently?
Yeah, in Jabal Ali, I remember that like during certain times of the day, they would all like have prayer time. Like everything would stop and everybody would turn a certain way. I can't remember what it is, but they'd turn a certain way and get out and pray and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, that was a little strange. First time that happened, I was like, what's going on here?
So everyone around you do it too?
Yeah.
You just stand there then? And like,
Yeah.
how do you?
Yeah, it's kind of like when the national anthem plays, you just stand.
Did it last a long time?
No, it wasn't real long.
And do you receive like any medals or awards or anything like that?
Yeah, I have quite a few, or a few. Got like, trying to remember. So one that you always get when on a submarine, you have to know everything there is to know about the submarine, because at any point, like something bad could happen, and you need to know how to fix it. So they would give you this whole pin. We called it dolphins, and it'd go here, and it had like a submarine with 2 dolphin tuna fish on it. And so it would take you about a year to learn everything, and then once you did that, you had to pass a board where they'd sit and ask you all sorts of questions about the submarine. If they thought that you knew enough, they would give you your dolphin pin. that was always a big deal. And then I got like good conduct, Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medal, which was the biggest one for me. They gave me that uh, when I left the military. It was like a good job. Here you did all this stuff for the submarine while you're here, and we appreciate it. So that was one. And I got Iraqi Freedom, Enduring Freedom medals. I'm trying to remember what all of them were. Yeah, I don't remember the other ones.
And would you say you're more patriotic or less patriotic now?
Probably more.
More?
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry about this. Sorry. And did you ever question like whether you could make it through the training or whether you can, make it through the hard points? Like, because obviously you're physically and mentally being pushed to limits.
During like boot camp.
Yeah, we're going all the way back.
Yeah, at the end they had this thing called battle stations. It was pretty hard. Like, they'd wake you up. Like, you go to sleep for like a couple hours, they wake you up, and then they would make you do all sorts of stuff all night long. And we had to like fight fires during the middle of the night, and then they had like a drill where you jumped into the pool and you had to circle up. You had to like make life preservers out of your pants, and then you'd sit around, like you'd all have to huddle up in a circle. And it was like a training from the USS Indianapolis when it got sunk. All the guys circled up, and then like sharks were coming around and like picking people off. And so the guys that were running the training, they would dive into the pool and try to pull people under, and so you had to like stay together. And I can't remember what the other trainings were. I'm sure they made us run a lot, most likely. Yeah.
Do you guys have to do like the normal, like, at least I'm thinking of basic training now, the like pepper spray and the gas chamber and all
yeah,
that?
yeah, we did that.
Tasing?
No, they didn't
No,
take
no tasing?
just the pepper spray and gas.
Was that like as bad as many people like it seems?
Yeah, it was pretty gross and awful. Yeah, like you're fine, and then they're like, okay, take your gas mask off. And you're like, no. Yeah, it burned. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously since you're at sea, like what was the swimming, like was there like a particular test of like how long you had to swim for or something?
Yeah, they just tested us at boot camp. You had to tread water for such a long time and be able to swim down the pool. Yeah, pretty much.
And like while you're at sea and stuff, was there ever a time you're like, why am I doing this? Like, what's the point?
Yes, while we're on deployment. So I tell this story to people all the time. They're like, so what'd you do in the Navy? What was so exciting? I was like, well, on deployment, like we literally sat in one spot for 30 days and did not move. And we did it twice. And it was so boring and so monotonous. And you're just like, how many more days do I have to do this? Because as a sonarman, you're like, yeah, give me something exciting. Let me hear a ship or something. But it was literally, there was no ships coming in, no ships going out. It was like a fisherman that would go out and in every day. But on the second 30 days, when we came back, like we went across the Atlantic Ocean, through the Mediterranean Sea, went down through the Suez Canal, down through the Red Sea, and then we stopped and we sat there for 30 days. And then like we went up into the Persian Gulf and had like a port call, and then we came back and we did it again for 30 days, and we were just like, we really have to do this again. But on the second 30 days, there was actually a ship that got hijacked by pirates, and they came right by where we were, so it added a little excitement, but not much. So there was like all sorts of rumors going around the submarine. Oh, we're gonna blow them up.
And have you been in all the oceans? Because obviously you've had to go. Are there any oceans like you haven't been in?
I didn't go in the Pacific Ocean. I was never on the West Coast. So the farthest I went over was the Persian Gulf.
And like obviously with mental, did your experience like kind of strengthen your spiritual beliefs, or like was that a struggle, or?
Yeah, I would say so. While I was on deployment, it was rough because, like I was saying, we're doing a lot of boring stuff. But then I realized like all my marriage problems were happening too. So yeah, I read like the whole New Testament of the Bible while I was there. Just, there wasn't anything else to do, so that was good.
And did you, obviously, with your like military buddies, did you experience any loss, or is that everyone was kind of good?
Yeah, there was a guy that just unexpectedly died one time. Yeah, it was really bizarre. Like, he was on the ship one day, and then the next day they were like, yeah, something happened, and yeah. So I had a military funeral, and it was difficult. It was weird.
And just going into kind of like legacy and memory, how do you want to be remembered? Like both as a veteran and also just as a person?
Just as somebody that was always faithful and did what he was supposed to be doing.
And do you share a lot of your stories with your kids, or kind of just,
No.
no? You
no,
think you will?
I don't. Yeah, probably eventually. I've told my older two some stories about some of the problems I had, but still at the same point, I don't know if they understand exactly what I was doing or what it was.
And I don't know if you're keeping a bunch of tabs. Obviously, your wife is in the military, but how has it like changed since you've served? Like, is there any noticeable difference?
I don't know with the Navy. I don't really pay attention to it much. I just know now that they let women on submarines.
Oh, they didn't at that time?
No, it's all guys. All men. Yeah.
That really. And I think I know the answer to this one, but if you had the chance, would you do it all over again? And why or why not?
I don't know. What's up, buddy?
What?
I don't know if I'd go on a submarine again. I might do the military, but I'd want to do something different.
And what does freedom mean to you today?
I don't know. It's great to be able to make your own decisions and
I got a joke for
say what you
Ava.
say what you want to say when you want to say it. Silence. She's doing an interview, buddy. Tell her the joke afterwards.
And this is kind of, we're hopping all around, but is there anything before you got into the military, well, all the way to the beginning, but is there any way in the military you're like thinking it was going to be a certain way and then it was completely different than what you're expecting it to be?
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect, so yeah, I mean, just based off of like movies and stuff, I didn't know what submarine life was actually, what it actually entailed. So yeah, it was a lot different than what I expected.
I see.
And other than obviously family and friends, was there anything that you like missed the most when you were away that was just kind of like you didn't think you'd miss?
No. I don't know. Probably just being able to go do whatever you want to do at any point in time, like, because again, being on a submarine, you don't have much freedom to do anything. Like, you only have very few selections, and so, I mean, just getting in your car and being able to drive somewhere.
And like during the time you served, were there any like wars going on, or was it like peaceful time? Or?
No, the Iraqi freedom and enduring freedom was going on. So, oh well, I'm totally missing the big one. 9/11 happened while I was in the military. I was actually in submarine school at the time, and so yeah, 9/11 happened, and then when I got to my submarine was actually in dry dock. They were doing a bunch of repairs to it. So I didn't really, like the retaliation from what happened, I wasn't really a part of that, but the operations afterwards I was. So I mean, I remember being in dry dock and we'd be watching the news and we'd be watching the United States like launching missiles at Iraq, and then like you'd hear stories about, oh, that's like all coming from submarines, like part of you was like, it'd be fun if I was over there. It'd be kind of at least.
Yeah,
fun,
and kind of going along with that, was there any time you had to like follow an order that you didn't really morally believe was like correct or ethically?
No.
No. I think our time might be up. Yeah, we are good. So thank you so much for